Hello, everyone. So the topic for this video today goes out to all the sons out there, whether they're children now or they're adult men who had narcissistic fathers. And this is a very deep, deep wound for a boy. All a boy really wants from the youngest of ages, usually from about 3 years on, he's able to separate from mum. Then the young boy is desperate to be welcomed by his father into the boys' club, so to speak. And he really needs to know that his father sort of sees him, is, bringing him in to the man's world and saying, you're one of us. That's what a young boy desperately needs in order for him to begin discovering himself as a man, as a man different to his female mother. Now, I have to say here, first of all, as well, I just want to give a shout out to all the men that are in therapy. I have a number of male clients. They are absolutely inspiring. I find the number of men coming to therapy nowadays to work on their childhood wounds is increasing. And so many of them are married or in a relationship to a narcissistic woman. And I would say the reason that this is the case, it's a pattern, as it always is when you've been brought up in a narcissistic family. The reason is that the narcissistic wife is mirroring the narcissistic father to these men. And when I say that, I mean she is emasculinating them. This is a key feature of the narcissistic wife. And for the son of a narcissistic father, it's what was fed to them daily. There was always the threat, even if you're the golden boy or the scapegoat son, the threat that you would be emasculinated. You would be told you weren't up to the level of your father. So the narcissistic father's main way of dominating his son's growing masculinity, because that's what narcissists have to do. They have to be the superior one. They have to make sure that they are top dog. It's almost like, well, if we think about it again, in the playground, you've got a group of boys, and what happens? They're all sort of jostling for top dog position, and they're prone to bullying each other. And this is what happens with the narcissistic father. He bullies his son. He makes him believe that he's just not man enough. However, sometimes if he has a golden boy son, he has one golden boy, one scapegoat, the golden boy son will be treated with a lack of empathy, but he will be praised for reflecting back the masculine traits of the narcissistic father. So he'll be praised for sort of almost being a bully himself, for sort of being a pro on the sports field and annihilating the opposition. But those sorts of qualities will be nurtured in the son from the narcissistic father. However, if he's the scapegoat, as you can imagine, the scapegoat is constantly being criticized. In fact, often what happens is the golden boy will be the one that the narcissistic father says, "Come on, you're in my team," and then he'll reject the scapegoat son and almost sort of align him with the mother, making the boy feel like, you can imagine, like he's just not man enough. He'll never be man enough. He's more feminine in some ways. And this is so painful, so painful. The golden boy, though, will do whatever it takes to remain as a golden boy. He will even, bully his brother. He'll join the father in the bullying, just as in the playground at school. Often what happens here is the narcissistic father, in order to maintain his superiority, he will either not teach either of the boys anything, so no skills, manhood skills during childhood, nothing like that, how to fix a car, and he kind of just ignore them, or he will teach them skills, but what will happen is it will be such a stressful experience for the boy because the father will be just waiting for him to get something wrong so that he can jump in there and really get at that self-esteem of the boy, even if it's the golden boy. So the golden boy is going to be a mixture of praise and a little bit of lowering of that self-esteem. But with the scapegoat, it'll just be, you're useless kind of message. Let me do it. Let me take over. And that often happens. The narcissistic father just say, "Oh, look, I'll just do it. You go and play or something." So his presence, this narcissistic father's presence in his son's life, is often one of stress, fear, and low self-esteem. And the stress is so much that the boys can really have this deep sort of core feeling that they're incapable of ever reaching his heights. And it can, that kind of stress can lead to so many symptoms later in life, but it can also keep these sons of narcissistic fathers forever trying, if you're the golden boy, to prove, yes, I am superior and I am like my dad. But often these boys become narcissistic themselves. Or if you're the scapegoat son, you're forever trying to prove to them that you are man enough. Some boys, however, they just sort of give up and spend the rest of their lives with such a low self-esteem. So the impacts are enormous of these selfish men. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. Often what happens though in these narcissistic households as well is the father, being a narcissist, may leave the family. He may have an affair, he may run off with somebody else, and he may not even, take any interest in his son's development. And this is so hard for a boy because it almost feels as if his father has rejected him as a man and left him with the woman, with the mother. And this can be the case, actually. It's almost as if the narcissistic father will subliminally leave the son as his surrogate in the family. So it's almost like, no, you can have her, I don't want her. And by saying that, he says, I don't want you either. So the boy is left without a father, but also in this precarious role of, gosh, almost being a substitute spouse again, as we were speaking about the other day. So if you've had a narcissistic father, this needs to be worked on. Often the negative belief that comes up in these men is that I am incapable, and it's a lie. I just want you to hear that today. It's a lie. You always were capable. It was your narcissistic father that wasn't, and needed to stamp you down in order to maintain his very, very fragile sense of being a man himself. It was all a show, though. It's all a show. You may even think back to times when you admired your father for being, so strong and masculine. It was all a show. That's the false self. So it's time, sons of narcissistic fathers, to be the good father to yourself that you never had, to be the encourager, to be the man who's willing to lay down his life for his children, to put himself, his needs, his ego needs second, and to focus on really being a father for his children. And when I say that, you know, for you now, we can begin that process of being that father to the inner boy who has felt so rejected, with such a low self-esteem. And the greatest way to do this is in hypnosis. It absolutely is, because that's where you're going to get things really, really shifting and making a difference. A couple of things just to watch out for, though. You know, sometimes the impact of this type of family can lead us to be very critical of others. We may also find ourselves almost wanting to stamp down on others in order to feel okay. There may be feelings of jealousy, there may be envy and resentment and things like that that we need to work through. So do book in for an appointment with me. I've worked with many men, and I'm always honoured to do so. So thank you, everybody. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave any comments as well. It's wonderful to see so many just dropping in and sharing their experience or what they've taken from the video, or anything that they know as well. It's really, really great to see that. So thank you, everyone. Okay, take care, and see you again soon. Take care. Bye.